Alright, people. Hello. Let me get the thing up. Where is it? Alright, we're here. What do I possibly say after that? I mean, I'm somewhat lost for words. How this team can go from so good to so shit within 2 games. I mean, we said it in the talking points the other day. It is unbelievable how many highs and lows this team puts us through. But this was a new low. And this gives me severe comparisons to the loss against Watford last year. Has the exact same vibe. The same capitulation. It happened much earlier in the game, so the last half an hour seemed meaningless. But this was bad. And we drew 1-1 away to City. And to go back in front of your Goodison Park faithful and put together a performance like that is absolutely abysmal. Will Lampard be sacked tonight? It's my best guess. It is my best guess because, you know, if previous history has taught us anything, it's that games like this basically decide your fate. But as much as I can say that Lampard was potentially in charge for this, the players also did not do him any favours at all. I mean, coming out of half-time, you expected a response. Down 1-0 at the half, you would have expected we come out with a little bit of urgency. There was absolutely zero urgency being displayed in the start of that second half. We looked slow. We lacked any aggressiveness. And, well, Brighton pounced. Every single one of the goals, you can just see they had a hunger about them. And even though we delivered that shit on a platter for them to, you know, punish us dearly, they're a good football side. They are going to do that. But we're in charge of our own demise as much as, you know, as much as Brighton were also in charge of you know, their success. So, look, I think from the very beginning, if we talk about things, share your thoughts in the chat as well about the game, because this is just shocking. I think if we talk about the formation first things first, we looked obviously much more stable at the back with a back 5 last game. And the formation seemed to do a little bit more. It was much more beneficial to us. This formation today looked fairly, imbalanced, I think is the word you could possibly use for it. If we look at every single one of the goals, it got gradually worse as the game wore on in terms of the goals we conceded, you know, from 1 through to 4. But the very first goal is probably the one that springs to mind most. That was because of a lack of balance. You know, our back four played pretty narrow, and on that occasion, Nathan Patterson was way too narrow, couldn't close out a pass out wide, and it was very simple as the Brighton winger getting past, and we talk about Patterson, you know, it being a learning experience for him because of how young he is, and you know, he's going to go through periods of adversity, but at the same time, if it's going to come at the expense of a goal, then is that a sacrifice you're willing to take in terms of playing him in the starting 11? So, yeah, and then the second and third goals, and even the fourth, well, the second and third were very reminiscent of our defensive tendencies, you know, when we were defending, you know, in the back half for possessions that weren't the counter. Because, yeah, they were pretty, you know, we'd obviously turned the ball over, but we did have our backline relatively set. It was just a an attitude displayed that I haven't really seen from the back line this season, where we were very, very content with standing off and letting Brighton players shoot and having that space. You saw little signs of it happening in the first half, and then it actually carried itself over into the second half, and we saw what happened via the result. But the fourth goal, I mean, that is a new low. That is, that's like half our goals we conceded last year. And it's no coincidence we conceded 4 today, purely because of the fact that the quality did not exist. It was just that passing really epitomised our communication on the night as well. The communication was poor. We obviously at times, 2 players were not on the same page. One player would go for a run, another player would pass it when they weren't looking, and that would lead to an easy turnover, a really unprovoked turnover as well. And that happened on numerous occasions as well. We're trying to bring the ball forward. Obviously, we know how few and far between things are when it comes to attacking, and to turn the ball over in such an egregious, just really stupid manner is just appalling. Overall, I'm very frustrated. I'm not usually the frustrated type. It usually happens in the moment, and then I don't show it beyond that, because as far as I'm concerned, you can't change the result. But Frank is in a little bit of strife here. Do I think he was responsible for the goals? No. Aside from the fact that we probably could have had a 5th defender. So the formation is on him. But in terms of the players being able to execute simple passes and having the communication on the pitch, that comes down to players, the cohesion they have, the chemistry they have, the confidence levels. And unfortunately, there was a lack of synchronicity. And we talk about synchronicity a lot. But even if we talk about synchronicity in terms of Frank Lampard, putting DCL in the middle. DCL in the year where he had, I don't know, it was like 18 goals or something. That's just a bold estimate. But in that season, he was, attacking the ball without having to, have any hesitancy in his game. He was always going at it full stride. Richarlison was always on the same page because he was whipping crosses in. DCL was reading the cross and meeting it full pelt. This season, the synchronicity is just not there. It is so far removed from seasons gone by, it's unbelievable. DCL always has his back to goal. The crosses are too high for him. So DCL is getting this really staggered approach to every cross that comes in. It's not fluent like it was years ago. And that's just, given he's the lone striker up there, as we said, we need someone at his feet, or someone that can go retrieve the ball if the ball hits the deck. And unfortunately, there is no support down there. It was a really puzzling decision to bring McNeil back in. A really puzzling decision for Doucouré. No, it wasn't Doucouré. Was it Doucouré? No, it was Davies. Davies wasn't bad in the first half. The second half, I mean, just generally speaking though, his passes, shithouse. Same with Iwobi. Iwobi's passing was so loose today. It was pretty hard to fathom, given how well he played at the start of the year. It's just baffling to me. I mean, it does come down to confidence. Has Frank lost the dressing room? That could be another explanation for why the goals were conceded the way they were. And, displaying all that lethargy out the break, did the players listen to anything Frank said? That is a burning question. But at the same time, the players, man, I mean, that 4th goal really epitomises everything. The reason there is no my best player on this interface right now is simply because I don't think there was one. But we saw when Isaac Price and Alice Sims come into the game, we invariably got more opportunities. And, Isaac Price, his press in the second half, I think it was around the 70th minute, is able to win possession on the wing and whip the cross in. And Damari Gray's about 15 years to get a shot off and somehow skies it. But, the method in which that all came to life was through the youth. And then the goal that we scored, well, off the penalty, essentially, what does that arrive off? That arrives off Alice Sims' playmaking. And an excellent pass, a well-weighted pass. Alex Iwobi, for some reason, didn't meet at full stride, but was able to win the penalty anyway. But overall, you're seeing the youth has an impact. I mean, I don't know why you don't start Price. It's very clear. If you keep persisting with Davies and Decore, we know what they've contributed in the last year, last 2 years, last 3 years. The same shit. Game after game after game after game after game. Stop persisting. If there's one other thing that I can say about this, it's that, or about Frank, it's just the lack of awareness with the shit that he puts out on the pitch. No fight from the seniors. Well, yeah, it's just, I mean, the overall play by the seniors does not reflect anything reminiscent of a Premier League player. It's got to be, you've got to change it up at some point. And I can't help but think, we tested out Anthony Gordon last year, and that brought out decent results. Isaac Price and Sims should just be given a crack. I mean, there should be no hesitancy there. Play Sims and DCL in a front two, play the back five, and then play the midfield three. Because, I mean, Damari Gray, as much as he's got, some top draw scoring ability, he only does that once every 7 or 8 games. And that's not going to be enough to sustain, some good form. It's not going to get you any good form. You're going to get 3 points out of it from 8 games. And that if you're lucky. So, is as much as, he's got some quality. It's just the fact that he can't do that every game. And understandably so. We've got to have a system that gives us the high percentage opportunities more often. I mean, I'm just going to read some notes and stuff. I think we need a manager who's willing to try new things and drop players. Well, I'm assuming that's what you're trying to say. But look, Frank, I will question his tactics at times. At times there is no answer. Like, in terms of, he doesn't think there's an answer. There is an answer, and there's probably a lot more to be maximised out of this group. But in terms of who's willing to try new systems and be brutal to drop players that can't be asked, question is who? Well, it's a very similar thing with the Nets, the NBA team I follow. The reason that we played so shit at the start of the year was because, simply put, there was no accountability within the group. And then you brought in a coach that was willing to reward players based on performance, and we've gone on a 12-game win streak. Now, I'm not saying Everton are going to win 12 games if we change the manager, but I'm just saying, if you have accountability for the, if you have a level of accountability, you hold players accountable for playing like garbage, then you possibly, you will see results. You'll see better results. I mean, granted, you can't get too much worse than what we are currently positioned at right now, but that said, I agree with your comment there, Alex, on in terms of accountability. It's such an important thing, an important trait to have as a manager, because otherwise you're just rewarding mediocrity, and I feel like that's what we've settled for in the last year or so. Obviously we stayed up. That was great times, but at the same time, you don't want to be finishing in that position every year. It's just unnecessary anxiety. The team probably has more ability than finishing 17th, 16th in the league. But currently we're playing like that. We're probably playing like one of the worst teams in the league right now. I'm going to be brutally honest. But you obviously can't beat around the bush. It is... This is going to send us down. I mean, I'm just going to put it bluntly, but the thing is, do I think the manager will change things? Well, if you've got players like Idrissa Gana Gay passing it backwards and turning it over, you know, trying to find an unsuspecting Tarkowski, then what are you expecting? Really, what are you expecting? What do you want Frank to do in that situation? I mean, obviously, he can take the player off and send him to the bench because rightfully so, they've made an awful decision, and awful execution. But become an Arsenal fan, they are on a roll. I'm not a bandwagon. If we do happen to sack Frank, Tuchel could be an option. Tuchel's not coming to our team. I can tell you that right now. We've got to speak. We've got to be reasonable with this. I mean, obviously, Ancelotti came to our club. Do I think Tuchel would jump on the opportunity? Well, first you got to get rid of the board. The board is the number one thing that you need to do first, because you can continue to sack managers if they are under the same ownership. The same habits are going to continue to live on and perpetuate. It's just going to continue and continue and continue and continue. You're asking for it at this point. Daniel, hope you're doing well, my friend. But yeah, overall, I don't have much more to say. I'd like to hear your thoughts. We've got quite a few people in the chat, so it'd be lovely to hear your opinions on this entire game. And the overall coaching dilemma. I am going to do a video on Frank Lampard, but look, I can bag his formation because 5 at the back worked last game and 2 strikers seem to work a little bit better. We seem to have more cohesion. I don't think you can play a lineup that has 3 up front. You know, it's just a level of imbalance. You've got 3 players up front. Maybe one of them, you know, their selection is justified purely because they're the best striker in the team by the country mile. But outside of that, Demarai Gray and McNeil, like, we just have too many shit players up front playing. And a 5-3-2 permits more backline players, which we have a lot of. And then, you know, you can, you know, sort of fine-tune the front line a little bit more so you actually have a little bit of quality there and there's no garbage running around. That said, I also think the midfield was a problem. We should have played Isaac Price. And we, as I said earlier in the stream, he made a difference. Alice Sims made a small difference. He won the team's penalty, essentially. He was... You might as well have given him the credit to the goal because he was the one who facilitated the whole thing. Look, I'm going to look at my notes now because I've been rambling the whole game. To be fair, we started the game pretty well. The press worked exceptionally. We got a couple shots early. And you saw what happened when we had that exuberance to our game. Had a couple chances. We missed Onana. Yeah, it was a colossal downgrade. Onana down to Davies. But even still, I do think, if we played Price, would the game be a little bit different? Potentially not, but at the same time, I mean, I'd rather give youth exposure than continue to persist with the same players week in, week out. Yeah, I mean, as I said, you know, offensively we're not assertive enough. We just don't have movement enough. We aren't aggressive enough. You know, we're always settling for going backwards. You know, there's an opportunity to press forward, but we never seem to want to test any backline. There's never a desire to do that. And yeah, as I mentioned with DCL before, I think it may partially be because there's not really enough personnel up top that has proven to be able to hold the ball up, aside from DCL. And as I said, the delivery does not do him, you know, any good either. He's constantly, you know, basically fighting his own fight because every single bloody Everton player decides to cross it in inadequately, sit it on his head. He can't get a run and jump at it, and sometimes that's also on him for his poor positioning. But yeah, it's just... Yeah. If you are enjoying the stream, by the way, you can show your support if you'd like. We're doing talking points for every Everton game. It's a damn it's a crisis at the moment, I do think. But we're going to be covering it every step of the way. So if you are enjoying the stream, make sure to show your support and also subscribe if you want to be notified of when these talking points go live. I had 71 points. It was a good showing. A good showing. 71 points. I mean, I watched the highlights. Just could not miss shots for dear life. We talked about synchronicity. Brighton looked extremely imposing on the counter. We talked about that. That's how they got all their goals. And it wasn't even from press this game. I mean, last game, City were always going to prove to be an issue in terms of, the press they adopt more often than not. And we coped with that pretty well. This game, we weren't even threatened half the time, and we were able to somehow just absolutely botch every single pass, every single execution of what we wanted to do. It just didn't come to fruition. It looked garbage. Every time we tried to pull something off, every time we tried to play conservative, we still stuffed it up somehow. Just careless with the ball. And that's why in the first 10 minutes there was a clear difference. It looked like we started the game pretty well, and it usually happens. It's a very Everton trend to start games well and then slowly dissipate, just completely fall to the floor. That's exactly what happened here. And I don't know why the energy goes away so quickly. I don't know if it comes down to a fitness thing and you run yourself off your feet in the first 10 minutes and then it just falls flat. But I mean, that's got to be addressed. I mean, when you're looking at game film and looking at the footage, what are these players looking at? Because as far as I'm concerned, I feel like it's extremely easy to pinpoint the lack of movement ahead of the ball, but yet nothing changes every game. And I can probably put that down to two things. The first thing is Frank isn't being very inspiring with his, tactical decision making. Probably a lot of people would say because he doesn't have any. But the other thing is the players don't seem to have a desire to improve or to act upon mistakes. And that's why I go back to this accountability thing. You continue to persist with mistakes if you continue with your accountability issues. With a lack of accountability, it just continues to prolong itself. And all you're doing is digging yourself into a deeper hole. Thanks for taking the heat off of Liverpool. Yeah, well, I mean, always. I mean, we never fail to disappoint in terms of providing, another reason to criticize us, because rightfully so, we played like shit. So, Liverpool have not played a great season, but at least they're not, fighting with, relegation sides. Like, now the next game poses as one of the biggest games in recent history for this team. And that sounds so stupid, but it really is. We've got Southampton, who, we know their situation. They are toying with relegation as well. And so if you lose that game, you're in deep trouble. That could be the game that decides it all for Frank. I think there's going to be one opportunity. One more opportunity. If he does not get a result, a full 3 points, I don't know how he's going to wrestle this team back, by the way, because 4-1 is a tough place to come back from. It's a dark place. The way we lost, it was just, whilst we were on the floor, we were getting kicked down every time we try to get back up. Look, that game is going to be huge. It is the next Premier League fixture. Actually, no, it isn't. I don't think it is yet. That'll probably, if he can't get a result in that game, that's gonna decide it. It is the next game. We've got Man United in the cup. We may actually do a talking points of that I don't usually do anything for cup games, but I may very well do so for this. That is this weekend, a late night fixture over in Manchester. But look, I'd love to hear your thoughts in chat about this one. We've got 38 or so people in chat, so there should be a few of you that are probably lost for words. So feel free to share your thoughts and get some thoughts off your mind. Or just get some, just vent a little bit, because I think that's ultimately what we all need. Because as I've mentioned numerous times in this stream, I'm in utter disbelief as to what we presented. How you can go from playing so shit against Wolves to playing so well against one of the best teams in Europe, and then once again playing down to opposition again. I'm not saying Brighton are a bad team, but I would say that, history would suggest, and this season would suggest, that Man City are a much better side than Brighton. But that said, Brighton, for who they've got, they play an exceptional brand. Their team is the epitome of playing to a system no matter what personnel you've got. And look, if we had a coach that could maximise that, then it wouldn't matter if we had Rondon up front. It wouldn't matter if we had Keane and Holgate as the centre halves. It wouldn't matter if we had 45-year-old Seamus Coleman playing off, as a fullback. That system would always hold itself up, and that's why Brighton can just bring in a player, take out a player. It all gets the job done. But yeah, currently we don't have that. We're going down, lamps out. It's such a big divide with this Everton fan base. It's so difficult to really pinpoint the problem. Frank not getting anything from this team. The players aren't playing for him. Time to change again. That is the dilemma we're facing here. Because Frank, it seems like based on that response out of halftime when you're trailing, that tells me that the players aren't playing for him, and the dressing room may potentially be gone. But the thing is, as I said, is that going to make a difference? Are these players just straight garbage? Because I will touch on this when I make a full-scale video about the Frank Lampard dilemma. But the thing is, what was I going to say? Is Frank going out? It's just, I don't even know. I'm that lost in what this future may hold that I don't even know what the solution is. Because if you tell it, please tell me what manager is going to get better out of this team. And Thomas Frank from Brentford, why would he leave Brentford? They are playing amazingly. They're knocking off, big six clubs, whilst they don't have Ivan Toney playing. So once again, that's another example of a team that has a system that no matter what players you throw at an opposition, they're able to step up and perform because of the system. They know their role. There's an identity within the team. Right now, I can't tell you what our identity is. Because sure, our backline was decent to this point, but it's this game that really raises question marks, because it's been so solid all season long. And to concede 4 goals in the way we did, granted the backline could do absolutely zero about the 4th goal, but the first 3 were reminiscent of those mistakes that we made last year, with just the ease in which players were able to weave through, and just it had a real pedestrian feel to it. Just you were able to waltz through and take shots to your heart's content, basically, without any added pressure by defenders. Look at the difference Eddie Howe made at Newcastle. Everton is rotten to the core. Well, That's why I'm saying that the board is the number one thing, because as long as the ownership is the same people, the same cycle will continue to perpetuate, no matter what manager, because it's very clear the same habits are rolling through regardless of the manager. So, I mean, I'm just, yeah, I don't really know what more to say. Eddie Howe was amazingly a shortlisted candidate when he was obviously up for grabs. Do I think he would have turned Everton around? No, I don't think he would have. And I don't know what your opinions are on that, but me personally, I don't think Eddie Howe was going to rescue this team. I think he would have been gone by now. Believe in Frank is amazing. I don't know if that's sarcasm, because I know a lot of opposing supporters that take the piss out of this. Lampard out, enough is enough. I mean, enough is enough. Because it's just been the same mediocrity for so long. And getting excited over you're getting excited over escaping relegation last year, as much as it brought the fan base together and was an excellent, moment of footballing unity. I mean, what are we asking for? We're asking for that to be the case every single season, so it brings us the same, jubilation when we barely escape. Yeah. And look, who's to say if Lampard is sacked, hypothetically, right? If Lampard is sacked, what's the guarantee that it's going to work out beyond this? What's the guarantee that the next manager is going to not relegate us? What are you going to do? Are we going to sack that manager if they get relegated? Is that what we're going to say now? Because, yeah, it just seems like it's the same cancerous shit every single game. It's just, as I said, it's a perpetual cycle. Until you change what's going on at the top, that's that. Look, I'm probably going to wrap this one up here, because I don't think I have much to say. If you have any thoughts about it, any interesting takes, or thoughts about the first team, or thoughts about players, make sure to put them in the chat now. I will give them a look and answer those questions if you have any. But look, this one was just wow. Sack a manager if he's not good enough. Carlo wasn't sacked. There wouldn't be a cycle if he stayed. Well, we'll obviously never live to tell the tale. We'll never know. And look, I don't think Carlo would have gotten us to this position at all. It's, as I said, it's such a dilemma we are facing. I was behind Lampard because he got to survive relegation and the fans, but Lampard doesn't seem to have a clue about in-game management, and lately in his press conference, he says that we've played okay. It's an excellent point you make. Look. Yeah, like he doesn't have anything to throw at the opposition. It just seems like it's a very uninspiring brand that presents itself the exact same every single game. And obviously oppositions are going to be absolutely frothing when they play Everton, regardless of whether it's home or away, because you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the same play, you're going to get the same method about it. You're going to just... It's just really uninspiring. That's all I have to say. And look, that alone is setting yourself up for failure. And yeah, Frank's saying that we played okay. I mean, look, we played well against City. Against Wolves, I do think we were the better team. As much as it, the result obviously says no. We had more opportunities. We did not take those opportunities whatsoever. But it was just some indecision. It was just some diabolical decision making. at the back end of the game, which cost us a point in that game. That could be a crucial point down the line. Carlo would have never had us sacked, or would have never been sacked because he would have never had us this bad. The board ended all trust in them after appointing Benitez. Well, that was probably the biggest decision that screwed us over. I would have to say that set us up for failure and has set us back so far. Ken Scheid out, Mashiri out, Frank out, everybody out. I've honestly given up on this club because of them. I don't know if a hard reset actually does good. If we hypothetically got relegated, would that allow the club to reset? Potentially not, because the financial situation's pretty dire, but would it be the wake-up call we've desperately needed? You know, that those constant years of mediocrity, sitting mid-table. I mean, mid-table looks pretty good right about now, but just those guys probably are like, well, we've got no incentive to provide now that we're out of the Premier League. Is that going to be the wake-up call that the club has needed? Potentially, but I don't want it to get to that point, obviously. But I'm just saying, for the best of the club, is that, what needs to happen in order for this team to wake up? It's awful that it needs to be us getting relegated for that to be the wake-up call we've needed. What games is he watching when we play shite and he says we've played well? Well, the standards are so low. So, simple passes being put together is probably considered a good style of play. And he's probably applauding claps. Applauding with claps. A simple 2-pass chain. That is how low the standard is, because we can't score goals. Today we couldn't defend. We couldn't, we had no craft in the midfield. So what did we have? It's just mediocrity at its highest. Would you think this team could actually win the championship? If we get relegated, we will be like Leeds. Well, yeah, that too. That's also another thing. It is a situation that lacks any form of guarantee. If you sack Frank, is there a guarantee you'll stay up? No. If you get relegated, will the team go back up? No. There's no guarantees on that. In the transfer window, are we going to get good players? Well, we don't know, because there's no guarantees there either. That's what they said now is king, trust the process. Well, yeah. I mean, it comes, it only, it gets to a certain point. It's just, when will we hit the threshold? When is there going to be the breaking point where, the higher ups say it's time to pull the pin? It's just really about how, short or long the fuse is before, we pull the trigger. And look, I'm not looking forward to the day that, we sack Frank, because once again, it would be a wasted season. It would be a season where we've waited another 20 games to sack a manager. We hire a new manager in the middle of January where, look, I'm all for getting strikers and attacking players, but at the same time, if you do that and then you sack Frank, it's going to be another case of the Luca Dino case. It's we got rid of Luca Dino, what? I don't know how many days it was before we sacked Rafa. But that alone set us back. And look, I think Mikalenko's been better and he's going to be better in the long run. But at the same time, it's just the idea of that. We had a plan for a player with the manager in charge. You get rid of that manager and all of a sudden the player that we lost him for nothing. And it was obviously for the opposition, who would be getting all the gains out of it. So it's just a lack of management and whatnot. I don't want to yet get players on the 15th of January, after we lose to Southampton. We've signed 3 players under his reign, and then you bring in another manager. Well, hopefully, if you're going to get a manager, they've got a very sound system, so it doesn't matter what players you got before Frank got sacked. They'll all be able to, be accustomed to a new system. There was talk of Mashiri selling last summer. Let's hope the upcoming summer we will see if that happens for real. Well, I reckon it will happen if we get relegated. It hurts supporting this club. It is an absolute roller coaster. It's not ideal, is it? It's not ideal at all, and I really sympathise. I mean, I act as if I don't support this club as well. And obviously I don't get, I don't get the, how much it means to a lot of people over in the UK, with regards to supporting this club, because, I'm honestly so far removed from it, so I don't know how much it means, how much of an integral piece it is to life. It dictates your whole week. Whether it's a win or a loss, you carry those emotions all the way through to the next game week. So I'll never fully understand, but for those of you who actually support this club through and through, and it is, you don't know any other way, anything else, yeah. So I truly sympathise. He has to go. I don't know who, and I don't know what the answer is, but he can't stay. The team doesn't even do the basics right, so Christ knows what's happening on the training ground. Well, yeah. That's basically all of it summed up. There's a lot of indecision. And I do think that's why I don't even know. I mean, I'm obviously not in management, or this isn't even my first sport. So I don't exactly know tactics and everything, but even I know that we're in a state of crisis. So if I know, then I think everyone knows. But yeah, also the point you make with the team not even doing the basics right, that is purely because, well, yeah, the players are shithouse. And the coach is not going to fix them doing the basics right if it's a fundamental piece of being a professional football player. Manager not up to it, wasted money, $500 million you could cry. I mean, I know what I would be able to do with $500 million. Definitely spend a bit more wisely than get, Davy Klaassen and Sandro Ramirez. Like, fucking hell, we could have done with that money right about now. And Sandro and Davy Klaassen did fuck all for the club. Didn't really do anything, let's be honest. 2 days then the Spanish waiter was sacked. Yeah. So, look, if you're going to sack the manager, you had to sack him before January, in that 6-week break. I don't think you can do it midway through or after. If you commit to all these transfers and then sack the manager, it just seems counterproductive. The whole of the Brighton starting 11 today cost less than what Everton bought Neil Maupay for. And that's a staggering thing. That's really staggering. Caicedo is earning like under 20,000 a week. And Fulham aren't willing to get Doucouré because he's getting paid 120,000 a week. So there you go. You've literally set yourself up for failure there, because you're just bringing players in on contracts which are incredibly overs, and it's going to be incredibly tough to offload. The only positive from Frank is he gets points in tough games, but that means nothing when he practically loses every other game. I'm not going to say this game was easy, but I don't think the tactic was right. I think we needed to play 5-3-2 again. I think we need to play 5-3-2 until we get reinforcements, to, put it quite frankly. That doesn't make any sense, but like, as long as we had that midfield, which was just getting absolutely, brushed aside and basically it was a procession for the Brighton players to get through that midfield. You needed 5 at the back. And with the goals, it was so wide open for players to get shots off that I couldn't help but think that we needed another body in there, in the box to potentially, just be a presence. Just be a simple presence that would be able to make the shot for Brighton a little bit tougher. A little bit tougher. Mopé, McNeil, what in God's earth did Everton think that they were decent players? Well, I think the idea of those signings were not for them to start, but then for them to be, stabilizers and sort of provide something we didn't for a short period of time. I don't think the vision was they were going to start every single game. Like Mopé was never supposed to start, I don't think. A minimum of 4 quality plays needed in January. Well, we've got to get them. We've got to fend off decent competition for those players, because every single player we want always seems to be met with competition. How can he play Davies and McNeil? They wouldn't get into any other Prem team. All this talk of Wobie is good as shit. Gives the ball away. I said it 5 years ago. Calvert-Lewin shit. Yeah, well, we've mentioned it earlier on in the stream, but Calvert-Lewin gets in the wrong spots, but the service he gets does not do him justice either, or doesn't help him out either. Iwobi today was awful with turning the ball over. 100% agree. Earlier in the season, he was much better. Look, it's an issue when Iwobi is shit, Paul. But he's got the most assists in our entire team by a country mile. He's got 5. And we've only scored 13 goals this year. So if he's shit and he's got 5 assists, well, what is the hope for this team? I just think we should have played Isaac Price, man. Let's hope West Ham sack Moyes. We wouldn't be in this position if we had him 2 years ago. Potentially not. Potentially not. Can anyone explain why we bought Mopé was backup striker? Why not just get a free like Rondon? If we are so tight on money, why waste so much on a backup? Yeah, it just seemed like a very counterproductive signing. I'd rather not get anyone than get Mopé. Because, yeah, we had Rondon there, so we might as well have used him, even though he was also shithouse. Spot on. Play the same system we did against City till we get reinforcements. It's yeah. I don't understand. If it's not broken, don't fix it. We used that system last year. We played 5 at the back a lot. And we basically grinded out results. I don't understand why we don't do that again. McNeil, a Premier League player, to be so one-footed is absolutely criminal. Well, yeah. The amount of times... I don't know why McNeil is playing on the side he plays on. Because every single time he's got the ball, and instead of being able to whip in across... And the alarm goes off. Excellent. I mean, just everything's going wrong, isn't it? But, yeah. I mean, every single time he's playing on the right-hand side, but he's a left footer. So he can't whip crosses in. Sorry for the alarm. He can't whip crosses in. Because he's always trying to duck inside. Because he's only got a left foot. But that is just... That angle doesn't work. It's very clearly... it doesn't work. And then from set pieces, don't even get me started. He can't do set pieces either. And he's supposedly a set piece specialist. Damari Gray can't whip in crosses. Look, Gray should probably be on the right. And, Dwight McNeil should be on the left because he is a left footer. So he can whip the crosses in with a little bit more proper, direction. Oh, man. Lampard in or out? Well, you can make a case for both. Is it going to change anything if he goes out? Potentially. Are things going to change if he remains? Probably not, but you don't have any guarantees if he goes. Alarm bells for Everton now. Well, that I can definitely agree with Simon. This team is an embarrassment. It baffles me how they can be this bad. I think even the teams below us have fans with more faith in their players and managers. I would have to agree. I think with the players we've got, we are probably the biggest underachievers in the entire league. Southampton may be shit, but potentially that was the expectation. We have much higher expectations. We have players that potentially should be, well, they definitely, are playing with a team that probably doesn't match their skill level at all. Major bad decisions ever since this, I don't even know what you said there. New owner. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it has been an utter fall from grace, a complete downfall of the highest order. I don't know how you can make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision for 5 or 6 years, with the exact same result, and expecting different things. And this is such a big fan base, such a big, group of people that, bring so much in terms of their support, and, their full time and they invest their full, allotment of time to watch this team, and, continue to have faith when it possibly doesn't warrant itself at all. And it just, it's a real kick in the guts every single time. This is an ultimate kick in the guts. Losing 4-1 at home, you've just drawn a City away, and the fans are probably thinking, well, we've got a little bit of hope here. And to come out and concede 3 goals in 6 minutes. That's just abysmal. At Brighton, Mopé never played up front on his own. He always plays with another forward, so why doesn't Lampard play DCL and Mopé together? Well, that's another thing. Draw upon experiences players had with other clubs and see what worked. See what worked. Because the solutions may be staring right at you, acknowledging that they exist, and you just ignore it. You turn away. It seems like that's what Lampard has done at times. I mean, it comes down to a combination of both things. Frank has not been very, innovative and inspiring with any of his tactics. I haven't seen many adjustments this year, and we obviously need adjustments big time. But at the same time, you look at the 4th goal, and you look at the lack of synchronicity within the playing group. Especially today, there were like 5 or 6 times, we were trying to pass to a player, they weren't even looking, but we tried to, pass it anyway. Like, that stuff you can't actually do anything about as a manager. That is all down to execution on the players. Or from the players. Support Manchester United instead? No. As much as Everton bring me pain, I don't really know any other way to support another club. I stay loyal. I stay true to who I've supported for a while. I don't think we will get relegated. I think there's a number of bad teams this year. Forest, Southampton, Bournemouth, Wolves, etc. Well, Wolves I don't think are going to get relegated. But the thing is, you say Forest, Southampton, Bournemouth are bad teams. I'd argue that we're probably even worse than that. You thought about it. I did think about it for a split second. Yep. But I'm not going to. I couldn't live with myself if I supported another club. I stay true. I'm not a bandwagon. I'm not this or that. I don't follow teams that are performing well. I just, stick with the teams that I've supported for a while, whether they're good or bad, and, stick fat because you'll eventually, get through the tough times. But, at the moment, we're living in a really dire period for the Everton Football Club. Look, I'm going to wrap it up here. I actually anticipated a bit less coverage in terms of like people rocking up and whatnot. We had a fair few in chat today, which is awesome because I don't usually do Everton live streams, so it's been awesome that we've been able to vent about this. Because yeah, obviously there's rightfully so a lot of supporters who are really in the shits. And look, I'm in a state of confusion. I don't know where we improve. I don't even think we improve if we get another manager in. So really, where is the solution? I don't know. And I think a lot of other Everton fans are facing the same confusion. Where to next for this team? That is the big problem we are facing. And I'm very afraid that even, sacking Frank Lampard, I have no faith in the higher ups to have any direction. They have power as long as they are there. And in the past, we've seen that they are idiots and their thoughts are clouded. They have no idea what they're doing. Right? So, whoever they get, they are still in charge. So what is the guarantee that their direction is going to be the right direction? In the past, it's proven to not be the right direction. So what guarantee is there that there is going to be a change? What guarantee is there that there's going to be any form of change? No matter who you bring in, the same people at the top. Get rid of the people at the top, the change will arrive. But until then, I have nothing more to say. Any final thoughts, and then we will be heading off. So yeah. But yeah, as long as the ownership is the way it is, they'll continue to make the wrong, misguided decisions, and we're going to continue with the same rubbish. Because their manager hiring could be awful. It could be the most atrocious manager you've ever set your eyes on. And what are we going to do then if that hiring is made? Well, you've got to be careful what you wish for. So right now, I'd rather stick with Frank because I know what I'm going to get rather than what comes next, which could be even worse than what we already have. But that'll do it from me. Thank you for tuning in for this little post-game live stream. Someone said do live watch-alongs. Unfortunately not. I do not want to stay up at 2 a.m. at all, let alone to watch an Everton game. I mean, you're absolutely kidding yourself if you want me to watch an Everton game at 3 a.m. when they're going to dish up this rubbish. After tonight, we cannot. Well, yeah. I mean, I understand the reasoning why Lampard should go. I understand the reasoning why Lampard should stay. But it's just like, as I said, is there any guarantee we're staying up if we sack Lampard? There's no guarantees about anything in football. Just generally in life as well. So we don't know what the solution is going to be. I'm very worried about this team. I don't know what comes next. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay safe. And look, I hope everyone, if Everton aren't going to bring you happiness and joy, just find it somewhere else because, this can't be dictating your life. So, look, we've got to remain optimistic as much as that is difficult. Obviously, the results may present something completely different, but we've just got to remain optimistic. I'm sick of it all. They should all be sacked. Well, I 100% agree with a... what is it? I 100% agree with the hard reset thing. We need to start again. That's really that simple. If it means we have to go to the second division, which I obviously do not want, I re-emphasize I do not want, then maybe that would be for the better of the entire football club in terms of an overhaul, getting new management, this and that. and being an entire wake-up call for the entire football club. Your excuse and remarks about the first goal don't make sense. Mitoma was playing Japanese college soccer 24 months ago. I mean, Patterson, I've said this before, Patterson, as much as the exposure to the game, the Premier League experience is awesome for his development, if it's going to come at the expense of conceding goals, then I don't know if I'm willing to have to bite the bullet on that. It was way too easy. We were playing too narrow on that first goal. Patterson half-assed. It was a half-assed closeout on the pass. He didn't try to intercept. He just basically realised that he was in the wrong position and didn't even go for it fully fledged. And unfortunately, we were imbalanced and had a lack of shape in the moments following, and ultimately we were never able to close out Mitoma, and he had a serious level of pace today, and he absolutely outplayed Patterson. We've constantly reset, never worked. Well, yeah, the ultimate reset is get rid of everyone. That is the reason the reset has never worked, is because the same people at the top have remained there the entire time. That's not a full reset. That is a half-assed reset. They're down, but hopefully they can move the deadwood and rebuild properly. We just need a rebuild. We just need to rebuild. Think they'll scrape 35 points on the current trajectory to narrowly escape relegation. Well, at this rate, we're not going for 35 points. The current trajectory would have us probably getting about 26 or 7. We need to score goals. We've scored 13 in half a year. And look, you're not going to stay up having scored 26 goals in a season. I don't even know if we're going to get there. So it remains to be seen. But look, I'm going to end things here. I keep saying it. I have not realised I've been live for an hour, so that's pretty nuts. Thank you for tuning in again. I didn't expect this many people to rock up, so it's awesome to see. But look, hopefully, as I said, Southampton is going to be the make or break game. We need to win that. We need to win that. If we don't win that, I can see Lampard gone. And obviously that is not ideal because it'll be halfway through the transfer window. If we've made signings, we've got problems. We've got problems. Because obviously, another manager's signings, are they going to mesh with the new manager? Is the managerial appointment going to be right? Don't know. Ferguson is only 18, got a goal and an assist, scored against Arsenal 2 days ago, has been playing in the under-23s most of the season. Brighton just make the right choices, players, coach, owner. Well, yeah, we said Sims and Price. They came on. Alice Sims, excellent pass to ultimately give us the penalty which we needed the goal for. And then Isaac Price in the 70th, wins possession on the wing, gets across into a dangerous area. And if it wasn't for Damari Gray taking 15 years only to sky the ball by 10 metres over the bar, then we probably could have had a goal from, once again, a player that's been running around in the under 23. So I think it's time. Give those players some damn exposure, man, because they deserve it. And it can't be worse than what we've been... Yeah, it can't be any worse than what we've been doing. Because Doucouré and Davies definitely ain't cutting it. So bring on Price. This is my... I'll say this before I go. This is my formation for the next game. It's against Southampton, right? And I don't have faith we're going to repeat the dose against Southampton, much like we did the first time we played them. 2-1 was the final score in that game. We won that game. Right. It has to be a 5-3-2 because you had Godfrey and Mina on the bench and you had McNeil and Gray starting. If we're going to weigh those duos up, Godfrey and Mina are way better at what they do than what McNeil and Gray do for their position. So play one of Godfrey or Mina. And then play Sims and DCL up front. Play the 5-3-2. Onana will come back in and give it a go. Heck, you may even need to drop one of Garner Gay or Wobie. If you're going to be accountable, if you're going to be serious about being a Premier League club, you've got to hold your players accountable. We said this right at the start of the stream. Hold the players accountable. Because Garner Gay making mistakes, if he plays the next game, you're setting the precedent. You can make mistakes and we won't punish you for it. Right? Bring on Price if you really want to. We're playing Southampton. It should be an opportunity for young players. Because obviously Southampton, their ladder position would suggest they are not good. Give them a go. That's my lineup. That's the lineup we need to run. It's not going to happen. But look, if you're going to bring Sims back to the first team, give him a run. He can't be worse than Mope. He can't be worse than Rondon. Obviously, Rondon's not there. He can't be worse than McNeil. He can't be worse than Gray. Gray's not bad. He can't be worse than McNeil, who's getting a starting 11 gig. Send McNeil to the Pine. Don't let him come back. And that's that. Have faith in Frank from a Chelsea fan. Well, yeah. There's probably a little bit of a different perception of Frank if you're a Chelsea fan. Obviously played there, but far out, man. I can't believe we're in this again. After last season, you would have thought there'd be a lot of learning experiences. And what would that result in? Well, you would hope that we would be able to avoid what we did last year again. But this time round, I'd argue that stats would suggest we are in a worse position. That has been the problem since Mashiri took over, different managers every year and getting in their players. So we have 5 different types of players with all different ways of playing football. Well, yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. And look, every single year, we're just basically trying to brush aside the fact that this team will go down at some point. The way it currently is structured, aside from if there is mass change, then maybe I can see us staying up. But in the next 5 years, the way the team is run, we will go down. And all this fan response, as much as it is awesome, at the same time it can also bring a lot of external noise into the club, and that can sort of twist things a little. And look, yeah, sometimes that's a good thing, like Rafa should have gone immediately. But at the same time, if we constantly keep calling for a manager's head, it's... Part of the problem is our fans a lot keep praising Iwobi. Why can't they see that he's totally out of his depth? Today he was. Today was awful. He's been below average for quite a bit, and that's correlated with our lack of good form. But today he was awful. In terms of trying to, keep possession, trying to bring the ball forward, he just could not look after it. And constantly we were caught out at the back because of those turnovers in midfield. Whether that was him, whether that was Garner Gay, whether that was Davies, they were all prone to it today. Regardless, now I'm actually going to go. Please do not send a chat message because I'm going to feel bad if I don't answer it. But yeah, I'm going to end this one right here. Thanks for your comments because, as I said, this is a safe place. A lot of fans are rightfully upset. A lot of fans have differing opinions, and we're all about opinions here. I'm open to every single opinion, as long as it's not extremely irrational and dumb. I'm open to every single take, and obviously the whole point of this stream today was not only for me to get my own thoughts out there, but to get your thoughts as well, on the game, because obviously this is a game where we need to unite as a fan base, because games like this are just I'm not having it. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Hope you enjoyed the stream as much as obviously the result was dire. We may actually do this for Everton Man United, the FA Cup game in a few days' time. It's starts around the same time and ends around the same time. So if you want to tune in for that, I'll see if I can get it up and running. But if not, the talking points will be up and live for that one as well. But yeah, hopefully there's a little bit of optimism going forward. I mean, we need as much of it as we can possibly get. Whether or not the results are going to come to life, I've got no idea. Do I do watch-alongs? No. The games are pretty early, so I can't G myself up for an Everton game. I can't wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning to watch an Everton game. I mean, you have to be pretty down bad to wake up at 7 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. to watch an Everton game. It's just... No. It does not do any good for my health, waking up to watch an Everton game. Because I sort of know what I'm going to get at this point, don't I? But anyway, that'll do it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your week. Don't let this result dictate your week, but it probably will anyway, because it is a shithouse result and it really hit the Everton fan base pretty hard, especially the way it happened in terms of conceding 3 goals in 6 minutes. But once again, I will thank you all for your support and for your interaction in the comments, because obviously the live stream has gone 75 minutes because of your comments and constantly feeding conversation. So I really appreciate you all for that. We will see you in the next, or for the next piece of Everton content. But thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, rest of your night. That'll do it. So thank you. Have a good one, everyone. And let's hope there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you. Have a good one.